guys, what's up and welcome to another tutorial. Today I'm going to show you how Wheezy makes emotional beats and samples in the style of Gunna Young Thug. The sample I made is inspired by the Drip Season 4 album. So first I'm going to show you all the sample, then I'm going to break it down and show you how I mix it. Then after that I'm going to make a crazy beat to it, so please make sure to stay till the end. Make sure to leave a like and to subscribe to my channel because I'm live streaming a lot and I will react to y'all's music. So make sure to turn on the post notifications and make sure to comment what y'all want to see next. And by the way, we are almost 1.8k, so please make sure to subscribe. I'll drop a big sample pack when we hit 2k. Thank you for this crazy support, and yeah guys, let's go. So I started off with using Keyscape and I used the LA Custom C7 Cinematic preset and I just turned off the reverb, and then I used this MIDI from @protnash on Instagram. Y'all make sure to follow him and to check him out. I guess his main idea was basically just to make an emotional melody. He randomized the notes for me and strummed it a bit, and I can't really say much more about this melody because, as I said, it's Protnash, but it sounds like this. Then for the effects on this piano, I had this EQ just to cut out a lot of the frequencies that I didn't like. It's pretty important to do that unless you want your samples to sound muddy. Then I had this Valhalla vintage verb where I tweaked the mix, the decay and the low cut. Then this simple soothe which I had on the default settings. And then I had this simple EQ just to cut out some of the lows, just that the low end from this piano doesn't clash with the bass. Then for the next thing I had this bell which is named Blade Runner. I don't know from which pack it is, but I just copied the piano pattern and pasted it over and then just pitched it up by 12 I think, so by one whole octave. Yeah, that's basically what I did for the bell, and it sounds like this. And stuff like this is pretty good to give the overall sample more texture and to just make the piano sound more full. Then for the effects on this bell I had Portal with the water preset from the Anvil Enigma bank, and I just left it how it was as y'all can see. Then I had this simple soothe which is basically just an automatic EQ, and I just left it on its default settings, but I changed it from soft to hard. Then for the next thing I had this simple EQ just to cut out a lot of the lows and a lot of the highs, as I said, just to bring it more into the background and just to give it more texture, and I panned it 12% to the left. Then for the next thing I had this simple piano lead or top line I would say, and it was in the original melody, but I just ran it out just to put a delay on it, and it sounds like this. And for the effects on this piano top line, I had this Fruity Delay 3 with these settings. Then this Fruity Parametric EQ where I took out a lot of the frequencies that I didn't like. Then this simple low cut, and I panned it 12% to the right. Then for the next thing I had this vocals from Splice. It's a Vox RV vocal hook, and I haven't really changed it. I just chopped it up a bit because some of these parts were off time. The only thing I really did was just time stretch it, put the declicking mode on generic, and this is how these vocals are sounding like. And for the effects on these vocals, I had this Fruity Parametric EQ where I took out a lot of the frequencies that I didn't like. Then I had the second EQ where I took out a lot of the frequencies that I didn't like. So basically I did the same thing again, but just for other frequencies. Then I had this R compressor from Waves with these settings. Then I had this Valhalla vintage verb where I tweaked the mix, the decay, the pre-delay and the low cut. Then the simple soothe on default settings. And I had this EQ where I took out a lot of the lows and a lot of the highs just to bring it more into the background. And I put it 12% in stereo. Then for the next thing I had this Evolution Strawberry with the other lead preset from Contact. And I laid down this pretty simple pattern as y'all can see, but the most important thing to make electric guitar sound real in FL Studio is basically playing with the pitch, with the channel pitch as y'all can see right here. I randomized the velocities and I had some like filler notes just to make it sound more realistic as well, and it sounds like this. Then for the effects on this electric guitar, I had this Fruity Parametric EQ where I took out some of the frequencies that were like too harsh or just not necessary for the sample. Then I had this guitar rig with the Creamy Snowflakes preset. Then the soothe on the default settings again. And then this EQ just to cut out some of the lows. Then after I laid this MIDI down, I ran out the electric guitar. And as you can see, I just had this declicking mode on generic. And I had a reverb on it with these settings. Just that it isn't that dry after I cut it right here. And I just chopped it up a bit and it sounds like this. Then for the next thing I had this building drum loop from the bass one in Pilgrim Genesis one-shot kit, and I just left it how it was. I just put the mode on stretch, and this is how the finished drum loop is sounding like. And then for the effects on this drum loop, I had this simple EQ where I cut out a lot of the lows and a lot of the highs, and I cut out one frequency that I didn't like, just to duck it fully into the background and just that it's there to give it some texture obviously. And that's basically it for the effects on this drum loop. Then for the next thing, I had the Scarby Rickenbacker bass from Contact, and I used the Neck Pure DI preset, and I laid down this pretty simple bass line. It just follows the root notes from the piano, and I changed it up a bit right here just to give it some variation. I randomized the velocities to make it sound more realistic. Then for the effects on this bass, I just had the simple EQ where I cut out a lot of the frequencies that I didn't like. And I had this EQ just to cut out the muddy lows because they weren't really necessary for the whole sample. And I put it 100% in mono. Then after that, I rendered the sample out, normalized it, put the declicking mode on generic, put the mode on stretch, put it on the 8th mixer track. And on the 8th mixer track, there's this EQ where I cut out a lot of the frequencies that were just like too harsh for the whole sample. Then the sound shift, the pitch stereo from waves where I pitch it down by 1. Then the soothe on the normal settings, this EQ again just to lower the velocity of the bass, and I had this compressor with these settings just to bring the sample together a bit. And that's basically it for the effects after I rendered the sample out, and the finished sample is sounding like this. So now I just finished making the beat, and the first thing I did was obviously dragging in the sample, and I put the mode on stretch, put the declicking mode on generic, and pulled the trim knob fully in. And as you can see, I stemmed it out just that I have full control over what's playing right now and what's not. And the first thing I did for the beat was laying down this pretty simple hi-hat pattern, but I had a loop operator on it, which I will see after I played this pattern. It's a hit hi-hat from my stash volume 2. The link for that will be in my description. And the full hi-hat pattern is sounding like this. Then for the loop operator, it's pretty simple. I just set these simple settings, and if you want a preset pack for loop operator, let me know. I would be down to release one, but now with these simple presets, I will make more complex ones. And that's basically it for the hi-hats. Let's go on to the next thing. Then for the next thing, I had this snare from Bold Color, and I had this snare from Bold Color. It's basically the same pattern, but just layered, and both snares and the hi-hats are sounding like this. Then for the next thing, I had this Jacob snare from my stash kit again, and I just laid down this pretty basic pattern, I would say, with a bit of variation in the last 4 bars, and the hi-hat, the claps and the snares are sounding like this. Then for the next thing, I had the short open hat from my stash kit again, and I just laid down this pretty simple pattern on the 1, 3, 5 and 7, just that the 808 gets more of a punch, I would say, and the open hat pattern with the rest of these drums is sounding like this. Then for the last thing, which is the 808, I laid down this pretty full 808 pattern, which is pretty simple though. I don't have any rolls or something like this. I didn't even play with the velocities of these 808s, and it just follows the root notes from the chords of the piano, and that's basically it for the 808 pattern. And what I did too was putting this simple Cody SFX out of my stash kit again, just to make the whole beat more interesting. By the way, I changed the BPM to 170 because I liked it how it sounded a bit faster, and the full beat with the 808s and the rises and everything is sounding like this. So yeah guys, if you enjoyed this video, please make sure to leave a like and to subscribe to my channel. Make sure to turn on the post notifications as well, because as I said, I will be live streaming a lot from now on, and I will be reacting to your music, so don't miss out on that. I'll be streaming every Monday, Wednesday and Friday, and maybe Thursday, so stay tuned for that. Make sure to comment something that y'all want to see next, and thank y'all for staying till the end. That really means a lot. And as I said, don't forget to like, subscribe and to comment. Thank y'all for this crazy support, and yeah guys, see y'all.